And let's go now to the inauguration ceremony of the Friedman Center for Peace Through Strength at Jerusalem's newly opened Museum of Tolerance. Former U.S. Ambassador to Israel David Friedman is speaking.
How fortunate we are to be here together. Thank God, healthy. We should stay healthy. And all I can say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shechianu v'kiyamanu v'giyanu lazman hazeh. Where's Secretary Mike Pompeo, your incredible wife, Susan, Secretary Stephen Mnuchin. We're going to welcome soon. I believe he's a little bit held up, but I'll welcome him anyway, so people can at least mention to him that I welcomed him when he arrives. Former Prime Minister and leader of the opposition, Benjamin Netanyahu and Sarah Netanyahu. To our co-sponsor, Larry Meisel, who spoke beautifully before and who serves as the chairman of the Wiesenthal Center and the chairman of this museum. Larry, what a partner you've been, and congratulations to you on opening night. I mean, this is my opening night, but it's also your opening night, and congratulations on pulling off a spectacular event. You know, I could have gone to the Waldorf, I could have gone to the Hilton, but I bet on you, even though some of the pictures that you'll see on the film of bombed out Damascus look a lot like this museum about 3 months ago. But I bet on Larry. No one has ever lost money betting on Larry, and I bet on Larry. And Larry, you and Yoni delivered, and I'm so proud of you and so happy to be partners with you. Thank you for that. I'm so grateful for my other co-sponsor, Sylvan. You've been a wonderful friend. You've sort of described yourself in all the ways that I would describe you, but what I think people don't understand enough is the power of sports. And proud of you and so happy to be partners with you. Thank you for that. I'm so grateful for my other co-sponsor, Sylvan. You've been a wonderful friend. You've sort of described yourself in all the ways that I would describe you, but what I think people don't understand enough is the power of sports. And you know, you brought the Giro, as you pointed out. You brought that friendly game between, I think it was Argentina and Uruguay. We got to watch Lionel Messi play in Tel Aviv. You brought Madonna to Eurovision. 2 out of 3 is not bad, you know. But you've been such a supporter of the state of Israel in ways that no one else does, and so again, to have you as a partner, to have these two great partners to run this event has just been a dream come true. I want to thank my co-host this evening, my beautiful wife Tammy. Thank you. And to Mayor Moshe Leon, we worked together. When I was ambassador, you and I worked together. I think we had a common view that Jerusalem, that we all believe, I'm sure everybody in this room sees Jerusalem as an undivided city. And we need to make it an undivided city by making sure that everyone in Jerusalem feels that they're a part of the city. And you have worked very hard to achieve that, from the least and from the most vulnerable members of society to the ones that need little assistance. But you've worked hard for that, and the results already have borne fruit. And you've been a wonderful mayor. Congratulations. I'd like to welcome some colleagues who run the Abraham Accords Peace Institute. My friend Rob Greenaway, who I used to work with, who's at the National Security Council. It's a wonderful organization founded by a dear friend Jared Kushner, who was here a little while ago, and he landed early this morning, did not sleep last night, came here, and he's already, I think, on an airplane heading back to the States. But I'm very grateful for him to have made an appearance, Jared and Ivanka. So they're not here, but I thank them very much. partners at TBN Networks. For those of you who don't watch TBN, you should start. It's a wonderful channel, and it's going to get better and better as we make more and more productions together. They've been wonderful. My co-executive producer on the film that you'll see shortly, Matt Crouch. I want to thank a producer, Ari Lightstone, who worked with me so hard on this. I hope you enjoy the film. We'll play it probably in about another 20 minutes. I hope you enjoy the film. It's 38 minutes. If you like it, I hope you'll applaud. And if you don't like it, I hope you'll applaud even more, because those of us in the arts have very fragile egos, so we like to get applause. And finally, I really want to welcome our special guest tonight, the President of FIFA, His Excellency Gianni Infantino. It's such an honor to have you here. You know, in America, I don't know that we appreciate the World Cup as they do everywhere else in the world. It's moving in that direction, but it is the greatest sporting event anywhere in the world. And people of Israel, I think, are so hopeful to play a role in future matches and competitions. And I know that we're going to go see hopefully a game tomorrow, under 21 game in the early evening, and I think it'll mean a lot to the people of Israel to see your participation here. And we're very grateful that you're here. It's a wonderful surprise. We'll hear from President and of course, because I'm an American, football means something slightly different to me. And so I'm grateful that we have Peyton Manning here, so that whatever kind of football you like, it's well represented. So it's really with deep gratitude and enormous excitement that I welcome all of you to the launch of the Friedman Center. We're here right here in Jerusalem, of course, the eternal capital of Israel, taking place on opening night at the Museum of Tolerance. The Friedman Center will open its doors to heads of state, lawmakers, government leaders, business and thought leaders, and young people from around the world, and in particular with an emphasis on the Arab world. We will help to present Jerusalem to the Muslim world and to help to encourage and to facilitate tourism to the Al-Aqsa Mosque, the third holiest site in Islam. Many in the Muslim world understand Jerusalem only through the prism of ancient conflicts and false rumors. Through the Abraham Accords, hopefully to be joined in the future by many more partners, we will work to bring Muslims to Jerusalem to see for themselves, to see the extraordinary care, certainly not perfect, but extraordinary nonetheless, that Israel takes to safeguard the holy sites of the Abrahamic faiths, including Al-Aqsa and other sites holy to Islam. There are about 2 billion Muslims in the world, and only a tiny, tiny, tiny fraction have ever visited Jerusalem. Their perception of Jerusalem comes only from their local media, which often has been, to put it charitably, less than fair. To bring people of the Muslim faith to Jerusalem in meaningful numbers can truly change the calculus and the perception of Israel throughout the world. And Muslim tourism, just so you know, was something that was a significant component of President Trump's vision for peace that we issued in January of 2020 and enthusiastically endorsed by the Israeli government. We are on the cusp. We are on the cusp of ending the Arab-Israeli conflict and changing the Middle East for the next 100 years. All based upon a simple premise. Israel can and should be the solution, not the problem, within the region. A solution for science, a solution for technology, a solution for healthcare, a solution for commerce, a solution for regional security, a solution for religious tolerance, and of course, indeed, a solution for peace. Isaiah, Yeshayahu, recognized as a prophet in all the Abrahamic faiths, offers the paradigmatic vision of peace that adorns the United Nations. Swords will be beaten into plowshares, and nation shall no longer lift up sword against nation. He also explains how he sees that vision occurring. all the nations of the world will come to Jerusalem, where God will resolve their differences. The road to peace goes through Jerusalem, says the prophet Isaiah. Indeed, the name Jerusalem itself means city of peace. The Friedman Center will work to actualize Isaiah's vision and to help make Jerusalem worthy of its name. As you will observe in the film that will premiere shortly, the key to the Abraham Accords was the trust created among a small group of people. The Friedman Center is committed to expanding that mutual trust from a group of people to a group of nations. And the essential component of trust within this region is mutual respect and religious tolerance. And what a great place to begin to fortify that trust and tolerance than right here in the Museum of Tolerance in Jerusalem. With trust, there are no limits. And with trust, we can and we will change the world. The Friedman Center for Peace Through Strength takes on this task with many partners of goodwill. With strength, the strength to stand with our allies, the strength to stand for our principles, and the strength to stand with our faith while respecting others. These are the ingredients to achieving peace. And one key partner in our efforts is our honoree this evening. No one I know presents a better example of standing for peace through strength than our inaugural guest of honor, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo. No Secretary of State has projected America's values to the world like Mike Pompeo. No Secretary of State has contributed more to a just and more peaceful world than Mike Pompeo. And no Secretary of State has more resolutely stood with Israel or further advanced the U.S.-Israel relationship than Mike Pompeo. Now, you probably know this already, but Mike Pompeo holds the single best resume in the entire world. First in his class at the United States Military Academy at West Point, a distinguished soldier, a graduate of Harvard Law School, a successful businessman, a member of Congress who never lost an election, and I think never will. The director of the Central Intelligence Agency, and of course the Secretary of State. No human being has or can replicate his life experience. Mike, if you were single, 30 years younger, and Jewish, you would be a perfect match for my youngest daughter. Mike has led U.S. foreign policy with enormous courage, exceptional skill, strength, compassion, humility, and fearlessness, and in so doing has made the world a better place and set an extraordinary example for future leaders. It is my honor and privilege to invite former Secretary of State Michael R. Pompeo to the podium to receive the inaugural Peace Through Strength Award. This is what else would it be made out of? It's made out of Jerusalem stone, our favorite building material back in Washington, and it was made by the same guy who made the plaque on the United States Embassy. So we're trying to that guy. He did such a good job. Give him a little more business. And it says, and I'll read it, and then we'll invite the Secretary to say a few words. The Friedman Center for Peace Through Strength proudly presents its inaugural Peace Through Strength Award to former Secretary of State Michael R. Pompeo, a recognition of his courageous and principled leadership of American foreign policy and his extraordinary contribution to a more just, secure, prosperous, and peaceful world, dated October 11, 2021, Jerusalem, Israel.
It's humbling to stand before you all today. David, thank you for those kind words. Thank you for the kind words that so many provided this evening. You should know that I recognize deeply that my receipt of this award is part of a team that did such remarkable work. I was a small part of leading in the direction that ultimately has, in fact, delivered a set of amazing outcomes in this region. David asked that I speak tonight for just a minute about his central thesis of peace through strength that the Friedman Center, I know, will advance in the years and decades ahead. David, I wish I was 30 years younger, too. I looked back. This idea is not particularly original. The Roman Emperor Hadrian talked about peace through strength. George Washington in the United States spoke about this, and of course, recently and famously, former President Ronald Reagan talked about peace through strength and how one engenders this peace around the world. I saw this firsthand. I was a young cadet. I was applying for a scholarship. I had decided that day, it was a civilian group doing the interviews to decide who would get the scholarship, and I decided to wear my uniform, and I don't think that made too many of them happy. The chancellor of the University of California school system, it's a big school system in the United States, asked the first question. I was sitting in front of a panel of about 20 people. And I, of course, was a student, a senior, almost to graduate from the United States Military Academy. And the chancellor asked me, he said, "Cadet Pompeo, why is it you think there aren't peace academies?" And I paused for a second, knowing full well I wasn't going to get the scholarship at this point. It was a hostile question for sure. But I paused for a moment because I knew in my heart that I attended a peace academy. I attended an institution that would help create an American strength so that we would have to fight fewer wars. And indeed, the central thesis of our administration was to make sure that America was strong in every dimension such that we could help facilitate certainly peace for our country, but peace for every nation in the world as well. The work that led to the Abraham Accords had so many hands, but there were a number of ideas. Larry, you spoke to these too. First, it's the truth. Peace is difficult to maintain if one is unprepared to stand on the truth. We acknowledged, rightfully, that the capital of the state of Israel, the Jewish homeland, was in fact Jerusalem, and our embassy ought to be there. This is just a simple truth. The fact that the Golan Heights is the proper sovereign space of the state of Israel was just a reality. It was the truth, and we spoke to that in a very real way. Sometime later, Ambassador Friedman and I worked, and I ultimately issued a statement making unambiguously clear that Israel is not, in fact, an occupying nation. This is an unambiguous. This is an unambiguous truth. And I saw, too, I was in Shiloh yesterday. Talk about peace through strength. A strong people. The second thing that's required is clarity. One needs to be unambiguous about who the good guys are and who those who are striking evil and fear in the world. We were clear about this. We knew the problems that the Islamic Republic of Iran was driving throughout the region. We knew that this nation was working diligently to do everything it could to create peaceful solutions throughout the region. And so we were friends with Israel and ardent adversaries of the Iranian theocracy. Clarity matters. Peace follows from strength, truth, and clarity. When I was a young officer, not long after that interview that ended poorly, I patrolled what was the then East German border. And about 2 weeks before the wall came down, I left. My assignment was complete. And the wall came down. I called back to one of my buddies, one of my fellow lieutenants, And I said, this is amazing. What has taken place? Right? We saw peace occur because we had strong allies and strong friends, and we were fearless in American pursuit of peace. And he said, Mike, it's the most amazing thing. We've been patrolling this border trying to keep out the communists from West Germany and from Europe. And when that fence came down, traffic only flowed one way. It flowed towards freedom. We should never forget the truth and clarity and the yearning for people to be able to practice their faith, for people to be tolerant, is something that people all across the world are demanding, and good leaders can help them get there. The final idea that I would leave you with, and this goes for everyone here tonight, is that to deliver peace through strength requires not just military might, and not just truth and clarity and purpose, but all of the strength that nations and sovereign countries are able to muster. And it happens. The breakthroughs ultimately happen when these people elect and raise up leaders, fearless leaders, who are prepared to take some risk in order to deliver on that peace, and who are prepared, when the peace is not at hand, to continue to deliver strength. Sylvan, you mentioned the debacle in Afghanistan. We were determined to reduce risk from Afghanistan and create peace in that region as well. But we knew, our administration knew, that it was important that we remain strong through the end, and we not permit a weak America to be foiled in the mission that we had devoted so much energy to for 2 decades. When good leaders rise, leaders like Prime Minister Netanyahu and Mohammed bin Zayed in the Emirates, the Crown Prince in Bahrain, the leaders in Sudan and Morocco, who are all prepared to take real risks because they knew the right thing was to recognize the state of Israel, to no longer have as their central foreign policy thesis the destruction of this Jewish nation. This, my friends, is important. Keep rewarding those leaders. Keep thanking those leaders. Keep raising up those leaders, your mayors, your governors, your members of the Knesset, leaders who will one day have the courage and strength to deliver the kinds of peace that we were so blessed in the United States and the Trump administration to be a part of. David, thank you so much for honoring me and my wife Susan and my son Nick and our family and all of the people who were part of our administration that delivered these remarkable outcomes. I am confident. I am confident that the people in these countries, no matter what administration there is in the United States, understand that these outcomes are good for them, that they isolate the bad guys, like the people who only want freedom in Iran but have a tyrannical regime ruling over them. One day, too, they will have the opportunity to become a peace-loving nation as well.